On order, 1 macaroni, 1 beef tartare, 1 trotter, 1 dory, spring greens and spinach.
Celebrity chef Richard Corrigan at work in his Mayfair restaurant. Born in County Meath, Richard has restaurants in Ireland too, so he knows just how much money was swilling about in the good years.
I don't think there was any city in Europe where so many bottles of white burgundy went out of cellars in restaurants. And I'm in London now 24 years. I don't think even a top 3-star restaurant in London would have sold the amount of beautiful wine that was sold in the restaurant scene in Dublin. It was a party. The Liffey flowed with champagne.
So what sort of occasions brought people to restaurants?
Well, I mean, over the last 10 years, possibly, you know what I mean, people had a lot more wealth, so they did come to restaurants. They did come to restaurants to celebrate anything, you know what I mean, communions, confirmations, you know what I mean. So it ended up being a much larger family groups coming to restaurants, which you don't find in London, I'll be honest with you. You know, people come out maybe in 2s, 4s, maybe maximum 6. But in Ireland, you know what I mean, there was large family groups came to restaurants to celebrate, you know what I mean. They didn't need any opportunity to celebrate, they just celebrated every opportunity. There was a sense of, you know what I mean, there was a money tree in everyone's garden.
And did people enjoy it? Those people you saw eating out, did they enjoy it?
God, we walked on water. God, we did. And you know what? People will look back on it and they will say there was certainly ugly and, you know, excess wealth creates ugliness and all that nonsense. You know what I mean? I think Ireland grew up during this period. You know what I mean? There's a period now of, you know, maturing. We weren't like the teenagers with the parents' checkbook.
It was almost regarded as unpatriotic at the time to criticise the spending, to question the boom. Prime Minister Bertie Ahern suggested that such naysayers should go off and commit suicide. But there's no doubt that we did lose the run of ourselves.
I just think we got rich too quick.
Frank MacDonald.
And that in particular, we got rich before we developed any real sensibilities. And what I mean, I don't want to sound patronising or anything, but, you know, there was an essential vulgarity about it all, you know. I mean, it was the whole thing of, you know, the guys, or even the women, in their SUVs, you know, beating away to Brown Thomas, you know, to get the latest Louis Vuitton bag,
the big department,
you know, or whatever.
Store, yeah.
I mean, that kind of thing I found really revolting. I thought it was very American, you know, it was very Dallas. It was vulgar, showy, ostentatious, and the kind of houses, indeed, that people were building for themselves in the countryside. God be with the days when they were perfectly satisfied with building a bungalow. Now it was a big mansion, you know, with 5 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms and a detached garage with its own hipped roof and all the rest of it. I'm glad that's over.
Now, what would you... I know what I'd like, please. I'll have a decaf coffee.
And tea, please, for me. Regular tea and a glass of water.
Novelist Claire Kilroy is glad that it's over too. The sad thing, she says, over a cup of tea with me in Dublin's fashionable Westbury Hotel, is that when we got rich, it was as though we didn't even want to look Irish anymore.
You couldn't be pale and freckly as, you know, I'm pale and freckly. You had to be orange and you had to have the blonde hair. We were trying to look foreign. Jeremy Clarkson made some comment. He was over last year for some car thing in the RDS, and he said, last time I was in Ireland, all the girls had orange hair and white skin. Now they all have orange skin and white hair.
Did we use the money to secure what really mattered?
I don't think so. I know how I used my money, and it was to write. Not that I had much money, but if I look at my friends, they've a lot of clobber. A preponderance of stuff and nowhere to put it because we're all living in tiny places. I'm talking specifically about my age group, late 20s, early 30s, when the mad money was on the go, and you could not say, like, if the bill came, you could not blink, you could not check it was right, you had to pay it.
Why? Because it was regarded as very bad form to
You may indicate that you didn't have pots of cash.
Looking back over it all, Claire, over the mad years,
yes,
as you call them, what did we lose and what did we gain?
There's a playwright, Declan Hughes, and he came out of college in 84, and he said the choices were either emigrate or be glamorously unemployed. So he went for the latter and set up a theatre company. And there was that level of cottage industry in the arts then, whereas the ones coming out of college over the last 10 years, there was no need to be glamorously unemployed. You could be minted instead. So, which are you going to choose? But then you get tied up in mortgages, and then once you've got a mortgage, you're not free anymore to say, hey, I think I'll write a novel.
So I suppose creativity takes time, and that's what we didn't have.
In the Celtic Tiger, time was money. I remember before I was a writer, the Irish were hot in the 90s. You had big debuts, big advances, big sales. By the time I came on the scene, we'd lost our Celtic voodoo, do you know what I mean? We'd lost that mystic Paddy thing that people thought we knew something that we didn't, and we were very spiritual. By then, we royally exposed ourselves as crass as anyone else, if not crasser.
We were the Irish, poor and holy. Romantic outsiders liked us that way. But coming from where we did, it was inevitable that the money would be intoxicating.
I mean, I don't want necessarily to make the argument that we were much better when we were poor.
Frank MacDonald.
But on the other hand, I think the money did change us in a fundamental way. I mean, we became more selfish. We became less community orientated. We just were single-minded in our pursuit of wealth. And so many people were making so much money that it seemed like as if this was the only way to go. And yes, I suppose, when you look back at history, and particularly the legacy of dispossession, in the era of the famine and all the rest of it, that, the idea of owning property, a place that you can call your own, is rooted in the Irish psyche, because we can't allow ourselves to fall into a situation of being dependent on landlords.
There were good things about the boom, Up to about 2001, we had real export-led growth, and we were all able to find work at home. For the first time, we could support our own people. It was as though we'd finally validated Irish independence. We became more confident, more tolerant of religions other than Catholicism, less likely to cling to old grievances, and ready to give up our territorial claim in an historic settlement over Northern Ireland. But then, with booming property prices, the swagger set in. In a sort of reverse colonialism, the Irish even started to buy up London. An Irish consortium bought the Savoy Hotel Group in 2004. Famous British establishments like Claridge's, the Connaught and the Savoy itself, places that poor Irish emigrants of the past would never have dared to enter, had now fallen into Irish hands. And just to make sure that everyone got the message, the Irish tricolour was run up on the hotel's flagpoles.